I'm making a story-driven, tactics-based, real-time digital TCG. It's something that I've been working on for the last, I want to say, 3 years, 3 to 4 years, and it is getting very close to being ready. So in the lead up to its release, I have been releasing videos sort of explaining the various elements of its design in devlogs. So I've done, I think, 2 at this point, and I'm just going to keep on releasing elements of things that I tried to do, problems that I tried to solve, things that I had kept in mind while I was making the game. In this video, I'd like to talk about one of the problems that I encountered over my experience playing a different card game for roughly 6 years. I played Yu-Gi-Oh! And made content for it for an extended period of time, and while I have nothing but respect for the game, I ended up falling out of love with it, and this was one of the reasons why. Now, the issue in question is the time investment required to play the game. I am going to sort of caveat everything that I say here in that I have limited TCG experience. Most of my experience comes from Yu-Gi-Oh! Itself, so other TCG enjoyers might not have experienced the same thing or might have different perspectives. I am none too aware of sort of the limitations of my perspective, but when making a game, I want to make a game that I enjoy, and so at the same time, while understanding that my perspective is limited, it's also the most important perspective when going about the thing that I'm doing. I would also like to put out there that if I hadn't spent time as a Yu-Gi-Oh! Player, content creator for years, loving my time in the community and enjoying the game for what it was, I don't think I would have ever made my own indie TCG. That's not to say that I think my product is overly derivative of Yu-Gi-Oh! More so just to say that it was my time being in the space that inspired me to take the first step towards actually actualizing something that I had made. So I don't want it to be taken as I'm trying to say that I'm making a better game than Yu-Gi-Oh! Or I'm trying to disparage it in any way, shape, or form. I've got nothing but respect for it. I am just going to try and avoid some of the things that I was personally dissatisfied with when it comes to that product, rather than saying that mine is going to overshadow or be better than, or anything along those lines. I'm not that arrogant. I should also probably clarify what I mean when I say the time investment problem, because it can mean different things to different people. Some people take that as the amount of time that it takes to learn the game, like the time investment required to be able to play. But what I'm talking about is the time investment required to play a single game. Now, when I was playing Yu-Gi-Oh! At lower levels, I might be in a game for 5 to 10 minutes. Awesome, cool, that's fine. As I got more experience with the game, that time could go up to be anywhere between 20 and 30 minutes. Now, when I got into Yu-Gi-Oh!, it was through Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links, which was the speed format, so I got very used to that quick pace of the game. When Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel came out and I got exposed to the full experience of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game, as it were, I noticed that the time also went up significantly in a way that I don't think I was really ready for. 10 to 15 minutes went from being the maximum to like the minimum that you could expect a game to last, which was just a bit too much for me. Like, I don't love the idea of spending that much time on a game that you may not even win. Winning isn't everything. Obviously, you can still have fun if you lose, but like thinking about playing on a ranked ladder, for example, having it take that long to barely move up the ladder, and so you have to win so many games and spend such a long amount of time just to make it to the top, I personally find that draining. But here's the thing that you have to recognize is that games take that long because Master Duel, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is complex. It's a game with tons of interactions and rules and cards and mechanics, and I love that complexity. I wouldn't want to lose that when making my own card game, because I'm not trying to make something that's easy to play necessarily, just something that I find fun. What this meant was that right out the gate, I knew that I couldn't completely solve this problem. As long as a game is complex, it's going to take you a while to get through it. So I did what I could to mitigate it. The first thing that I looked at was the resource system, something that Yu-Gi-Oh! Doesn't necessarily have. Now, Summoner's Nexus is a lore-based game. It's based on a book that I wrote of the same title, and so it was relatively easy coming up with the resource system for the game because I just ported it over from the lore. In the story, summoners make use of their inner light, effectively their life force, to summon creatures onto the physical plane in order to battle for them. It only made sense then to have the resource that you use to summon creatures onto the field be your life points. Those two go hand in hand. If your life points hit 0, you lose the game. It's as simple as that. You have 1,200 points in your Nexus gauge to start with, and that is the resource that you use to manage both your summoning creatures and your staying alive. Why I love this so much is because just by summoning monsters onto the field, just by playing the game through its normal means and how it's supposed to be played, you are speeding up the process through which either you or your opponent will win the game, and speeding up the game as a whole, because you are helping your opponent to deal some damage to you, they're helping you to deal some damage to them, and that is just a part of the inherent mechanics of the game. Next up came the turn system. Now, just based on how this game is structured, the longer the game goes on, the less options the player has, because the less life points you have, the less able you are to summon powerful monsters. This doesn't always feel great as a card game player, because decision making and having options is what makes games fun. This added an incentive for me as the game designer to make the games shorter. That way players didn't feel the resource drain as intensely. They didn't feel the lack of options for as long, if at all. I limited the game to a 6-turn maximum to give you enough time to make plays and have comebacks without letting the game drag on for too long, so whoever has the highest life after 6 turns automatically wins. That way we always have the ability to do something. Now, I really like the 6-turn maximum because it made it so that games could only last for a certain amount of time, a reasonable amount of time, and it introduced a brand new strategy into the game, being defense, right? Since the game ends after turn 6, right? It just ends and the player with the highest life wins. It is now a viable strategy to try and survive through the 6 turns of the game. It gave a whole new meaning to that control play style within the game and gave players more options for how to experience the game, which I just find awesome. Putting all of this together made it so the games at a maximum last for 15 to 20 minutes. That's the longest that we've seen in testing. On average, they tend to last more like 10 to 15 minutes, but when you have games that make it all the way to turn 6 or very complicated and technical games, that time limit gets increased. Maybe there is a ceiling, like maybe there's more to be seen once people really master the game, and games may end up becoming longer in like a competitive arena, but even then it will still be contained. There will always be a maximum. But yeah, that's where things currently stand. 10 to 15 minutes on average, 15 to 20 when things get heated. It's not a perfect fix to the time investment problem. I know people would love for their games to be faster, but it is the best I think I can manage for now. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to keep up to date on the development of the game, and check the links down below for ways to support the Summoner's Nexus TCG as it nears its completion. I've been Saul, have a wonderful day, and take care.